are nervous out there. They know they're up for something now. If the riders are nervous, the horses feel it. The ball is in. They've started the first semi-final. Oh, they've all ridden over it so far. First down to pick up it is going to be the Australian number 1. Jane Cooper comes up with it. Now, this is settled down time for both sides. It's Australia on the attack first up through their number 1 player. Jane Cooper, Australian number 1, out there on a pony called Barnet Stargun. Cooper gets a bad bounce over the 30-metre line, but she picks it up again. The saddle sinks down. It's always nice to get that first goal on the belt. Jane Cooper has it. Oh, there it is too, as gentle as you like. Goal number 1. And Australia are out there to see if they can do the same thing again. This is a top side Zimbabwe in the red shirts, and they're on the attack now through Suzanne Sargent, the number 3. Where's her number 1? Oh, good work too. Paula Sargent pulled in a nice pass coming in from a number 3 down the back, and she'll now start working the area for Zimbabwe. And it's Sargent, Paula Sargent, and there's first goal for Zimbabwe. That's goal number 1 for the Zimbabwe side. They line up in front of the scoreboard on the far side of the paddock. Who's going to get it this time? Will it be Zimbabwe? No, it won't be. It'll be Australia. Australia through the number 2 player, Sally Lister, having her first taste of the ball so far in this game. Lister lines up Cooper. Oh, good pass across to Jane Cooper over the 30-metre line, and Suzanne Sargent with the job to do now for Zimbabwe. Or Cooper's run right round one side of her. No stopping Jane Cooper. Back in action on Greenfield, chuck it 2. Umpire Steve Watson lines them up. We've got the men out there now. Trent Cooper, Troy Henry, Greg Davidge for the Aussies. Howie Baker, Gavin Cocker and Henry Harris for Zimbabwe. Ball in underneath the number 2s this time. You'll see some great polocrosse out here in a minute. It's going to be a Zimbabwe ball out of the start of it as Howie Baker comes up for Zimbabwe, riding a little pony called Knickers. Now, Howie Baker has been throwing goals all week. He's just had a fabulous campaign, Howie Baker, so once he starts to muscle up, you just have a look at what he can do. Baker, up over the 30-metre line. He gets around past Davidge and lines up and gets Zimbabwe's second goal. Now, she decided she was no longer going to wait any more. The ball has gone in. It's been taken out by Zimbabwe's number 3, and Henry Harris, he's the captain, throws a long overhand throw across to his number 1, Howie Baker, and Greg Davidge will be in to defend. Now, let's see how Greg Davidge goes with Howie Baker. It's Baker 2, Davidge 0. That's 7 goals to 3. The umpire lines them up and puts it down the back. It's going to be another Zimbabwe ball, is it? No, it's not. Troy Henry has his first taste of the ball for Australia. He's got one out of the lineup. The Zimbs have been pretty good in the lineup, but Henry comes away with it this time. Now, look at him marking up beautifully. Australia-Zimbabwe, 1-on-1 all. Good leading pass coming in from Troy Henry too. Slotted it straight into his number 1's racket, and Cooper's going to run the long circle, puts it through, and gets a good goal for Australia. They open up a pretty commanding lead now, 10 goals to 3. And Walt not happy with the line at the moment, so she gets him straight, puts it through. It's run right through the line this time. And who comes up with it out the back? That's Susan Sargent woman. Susan Sargent drives right to the far line, puts a big high bounce pass up for a number 1, and it's come up trumps too. Paula Sargent will pick it up for Zimbabwe. Oh, here's trouble for the Australians. Sargent with the ball, Tanya Hollow, a great number 3 in her own right, but look out, it's Paula Sargent, the best number 1 in Zimbabwe out on the paddock at the moment. And Hollow chases her. Australian skipper out there on the black pony, playing up against Paula Sargent. Sargent looking to get that 4th goal on the board for the Zimbabwe side. Will she think about an overhand? She won't have to. It goes through the goalpost anyway when she outturned Tanya Hollow. Good goal. And Gavin Cocker drops back to play number 3. Possibly his preferred position. He's played well at it all week. This has come out Zimbabwe's way. No, it hasn't. It's come out Greg Davidge's way for Australia. He looks back and says, any of you blokes with me? Cooper says, I'm there. Give it to me. And he puts it through. Goal number 17. Catherine Rolt, the umpire, lines him up on the far side of the park. Waits for him to get straight, puts the ball in. It bounces out of Australia's way. McGrath is there for Australia. So is Tanya Hollow. But coming away with it again is the ever-present Jane Cooper. Cooper, their number 1 on the grey pony, bounces up towards the 30-metre line, bounces over the 30, comes up with the ball being hard marked in there by Susan Sargent. But Cooper, oh, gee, she was close to the circle, but she got it through. She was calling it on the death, that one. 18-5, the scoreboard says. And it's taken out of the middle of the ruck there by Sally McGrath, the number 2 now. McGrath, the left-hander, local Warwick girl, puts a pass up across to Cooper, a little bit high, that one. The next one will be better. But Cooper comes away with it. Sargent having a great game in the defence spot. for Zimbabwe. Susan Sargent, Jane Cooper. Oh, now let's see, Cooper's running in, dodging, weaving. That one looked a bit better. That's gone through the goalpost. A ball out the back from umpire Catherine Roll. And there's some good tactical work from the Zimbabweans. They picked up the ball in centre field. They drop-kicked a little one up the top of the paddock to try and link up with their number one, but it's all gone horribly wrong. And it's gone wrong because Jamie Grimond has come away with the ball and he's totally unopposed. You'll find the number 3 down the back there somewhere as Grimond goes through and slots another one for Australia. There, 24 plays 5. Australia leading, and again, it's come out Australia's way another time. It's Troy Henry having a taste of the ball. Now this time Gavin Cocker has locked onto the Australian number 1, and Henry is going to have to do a little bit more work before he gets the pass across. He's got it this time. Grimond gets away from Cocker, and Grimond scores. Speechless at the moment watching this sort of stuff. It's Australia again through Troy Henry, the number 2. Look at this great combination work. Little pass across to Grimond through the goalpost. Free throw is going to be taken by the Australian side. Now let them know you support them out there, Zimbabwe, and Australia for that matter as well, but the Zimbabweans could do with a little bit of a G up from the crowd. Australia on the attack through the number 2 player out there, the local lassie, Sally McGrath from the Warwick Club, playing in the number 2 spot for the Australian side. 27 plays 5. McGrath just taking the time, heading up towards the in-goal area, gets a good pass across to the new number 1 out there, Sally Lister for Australia. And look at that work by Suzanne Sargent. Has she not played magnificently out there today for Zimbabwe? She's forced the Australian number 1 into error. She grows a great pass out across her own number 1 up in the in-goal area. And now look at this. She's come across and taken a player, so she's everywhere, Sargent. As Paula Sargent will go through and scores a goal at the end of it all. Well, 27 plays 6. Now they line up in the far side of the paddock in front of Steve Watson. Now Steve is umpiring. He's a New Zealander. He's taken one side and one end of the field. And it's come out Zimbabwe's way again, and wouldn't you know it, it's Suzanne Sargent. They've taken it off her this time. They'll keep an eye on Suzanne Sargent nowadays. They know she's danger. And Australia come away with the ball. Now it's McGrath on one side. It's Sally Lister on the other one. A good pass coming in, I think, from McGrath. I think Sally Lister might have taken her eye off the ball right at the last minute. And that's going to be a Zimbabwe ball through Suzanne Sargent. Poor Suzanne Sargent should be down there trying to catch her breath, I should suspect, at the moment. And she's just gathering her thoughts, I suspect. Down there just letting Sally Lister push her around for a little bit. And now she's going to break away. Will she get up over the 30-metre line in one run? She does. Flicks a little pass back infield. Nicely taken too. Throws the pass back across there to a number 1. Not taken... well, it's taken cleanly, but all of a sudden they've lost a bit of momentum. Paula Sargent has it. And she runs into a good hit coming across from Sally McGrath. Oh, gee, a big hit coming in from the number 2 there in Margaret Warswick, trying to take McGrath out of play. And they all meet in a big huddle in the middle up on the 30-metre line, and the ball's nowhere near any of them, except it will be for Suzanne Sargent. She's just having such a good chucker out there. Sargent gets a pass across to Paula Sargent. They'll goal it from here, and they do. Another goal to Zimbabwe. And Sally Lister on the paddock now for Australia. It's come out the front of the line. Paula Sargent for Zimbabwe is up on her own. Will the number 3 be able to get to her? Sargent shoots through. Yes, she does. Zimbabwe goal it again. Now they're starting to throw a few around. Umpire Steve Watson brings them back over in front of the scoreboard. Lines them up, throws the ball in quick and hard. It looks like it's bouncing pretty close to that sideline. It's the left-hander, Sally McGrath, is trying to have a go at it there, but there's been a big hit down somewhere. That'll be a penalty. And the free throw is going to be taken by the Australian number 1. Sally Lister. She's got to go and score the goal at the end of it. She figured she might as well get the ball in her hands now, get the feel of it. Lister takes the free throw, picks it up again nicely. Now she's got Zimbabwe opposition. Look at the great defence work from the Australians. Each of those have taken another defending player, and that means that Sally Lister can get up into the in-goal area virtually unopposed. It'll make a difference when she gets up there with Sargent, though. This time she's managed to get around past Susan Sargent. Ball on the ground. Again, it's Tanya Hollow, the skipper for Australia. She comes up with the ball this time. Up over the halfway, looking to link up with Lister. Lister, Hollow gets a big one up. Oh dear, the Zimbabweans have forced them into error. Sally Lister's going to come away with it again in the long run, but it was looking a little bit shaky for Australia there for a minute or two. Now Lister with the ball. Suzanne Sargent for Zimbabwe, just waiting, waiting and waiting as Lister this time gets around the other side of the pony and has a quick shot at goal. It's gone through. Chucker number 7 that we're in, and then one more with the men. And we'll know the outcome of at least one of the teams that's going to be in the World Cup. And that is time, that is time. Put your hands together for the women. They have both done their countries proud out there today. Wonderful competitors. Warwick and final chucker. They come in and line up. We'll let you know of any changes in a minute, but the ball goes in. It's going to be a good, fast and furious one, I'd reckon. They'll all want a good hit out. Just to remember it by, the ball is loose on the paddock. It's going to be, oh gee, it looked like it was Howie Baker. It is. Baker is up there. Cocker's still in the number 3 for Zimbabwe. Who's in the number 2? There's no change. There's still Shannon Burbage. And the Zimbabwe team on fire, are they? Well, yes and no, because at the other end of the paddock where the ball is being played with at the moment, there's going to be a goal scored by Australia. We've got Baker, we've got Burbage, and we've got Cocker for Zimbabwe. And Australia is unchanged from last time out there. Jamie Grimman, Troy Henry, Greg Davidge. The umpire calls them in. Last chucker of the first semi-final has been picked up by Grimman. Grimman breaks out of the middle of the ruck, heads up towards his own in-goal area. Oh, and they've held the Zimbabwean number 3 way out of control, out of play. He'll be unopposed and he scores another. 31. 31 goals to 9 it is now, Australia. One of the ponies leaping at the back of the lineup. They're starting to straighten up a bit this time. It's bounced off one of the Australians. It's come out Howie Baker's way. It didn't quite get to him, but Cocker's got it anyway. It means the same thing. Cocker throws a big long pass. Oh, gee, he was game. He picked it up as he was at 1 foot over the back line, I reckon, and he hoiked a big overheader. It didn't go through. I guess it's what you call a speculator. Under the circumstances, why not? You might as well have a go. You'll never know if you don't try it. It didn't work out. It won't matter because Zimbabwe have still got the ball. Been picked up by Shannon Burbage, their number 2. He flicks the pass up across to Howie Baker, who I don't think was expecting it. And the umpire's whistle is gone. So that's going to be a penalty against Australia. Troy Henry involved in a bit of a tussle there as now Howie Baker takes the ball, lines up, puts it through, scores another one for Zimbabwe. They line up at the front. There's plenty of passion out there. You can see that the way they're lining up with the look on their faces. It's Zimbabwe. Burbage, oh, throws a great pass up the front to Baker. Baker will bounce, shut the gate. That's another goal to Zimbabwe. 31-11. Scored a lot of those goals in the more recent chuckers of this game too, Zimbabwe. Umpire waiting for him to get straight. Ball goes in, it's underneath the second rows. It's Baker spots it, it's Australian player spots it as well. But at the same time, an Australian had hold of the ball. The umpire was blowing the whistle, and that's going to be a free throw to Zimbabwe. And a free throw taken by Howie Baker. He throws it across to Cocker, and Cocker cocks a big one for his troubles. He's still got the ball, slips a nice little pass into Howie Baker, not taken cleanly though. Davidge will tidy it up down the back. Davidge was pace on a plenty. Oh, there's an Australian player in there. I don't think the umpire will take too keenly to that. And they will ask Jamie Grimman and say, excuse me, who are you and where are you from? He's actually impeded his own teammate in the long run because it was Davidge who had the ball. So it's going to be a free throw now to Zimbabwe. And it'll be taken by Howie Baker from right in front of the sticks. Baker will put it up high. Look pretty good. It's there. Zimbabwe get goal number 12. 31 goals to 12. And Zimbabwe have got to play the game to the end anyway, and I'm sure they will. It's Troy Henry. That's it. Put your hands together. Australia are there. The Aussies make the World Cup. We'll have the green and gold in the big one tomorrow afternoon. Australia have won the game, the first semi-final, by 31 goals to 12, convincingly. Great game from Zimbabwe all the same, but 31 to 12. And Australia go into the World Cup tomorrow afternoon. They'll be pleased about that.